welcome back to another episode of the Catholic Brotherhood. So my brother's behind the camera. You guys won't see him right here, but he's actually back there. So as you guys know, and I hope you guys had a chance to actually look at his video, he did Theology Thursday, it's up on our channel. So today I'm going to take care of Miracle Monday, and I'm going to start actually every other Monday. We're going to be uploading Miracle Mondays, and my brother will be doing every other Thursday, Theology Thursday, as we had explained you guys, and hopefully you guys have seen these other videos. If not, you guys can take a look at it. It's right down here. You guys can take a look at it and see what it is about and all of this. So I'm going to first get started with defining what a miracle is, and this is according to St. Augustine, one of our theology doctors of our Catholic Church, and he actually defined a miracle as saying, there's nothing wrong with saying that God does something against nature when it's contrary to what we know of nature, for we give the name nature to the usual and known course of nature, and whatever God does contrary to this, we call it a prodigy or a miracle. I know I said a lot of nature and nature. We have to remember that actually St. Augustine lived in like 400 and something AD. So up to now, there was only speculations of what nature was and all of this. It wasn't until 1700s that the scientists, started to revolve about, science ideas and all of this. Okay, so I know he says a lot of nature, but yeah. Anyway, and then sometime later, St. Thomas Aquinas came in and actually clarified this definition of what St. Augustine said, and he actually ranked or divided to clarify into three different groups what a miracle was. And so the first one is the substantially, which is like when two bodies are together in one place, or like the sun is made to turn back. For example, we have a perfect example like the miracle of Fatima in Portugal, where the sun people was actually experienced, and actually this happened in the sight of many spectators who saw how the sun would come close to them and then it'll go away from them. And so a lot of people thought that was the end of the world because of this miracle, after the apparition of our Blessed Virgin Mother Mary to the three shepherds, Lucia, Jacinta, and Francisco. And so, this is an example of the substantially miracles. And then on the second one, we have the subjectively, and like this consists of the subject. For example, the resurrection of the dead, or restoring sight to the blind. Like for example, as we read sometimes in the Gospels of masses on Sunday, as how Jesus gave sight to the blind and restore the paraclete so that they could walk. Those are example of such that are called subjectively. And then because we know like nature can produce life but not in a death body, and then nature can give sight but not to the blind. And then on the third one, we have the qualitatively, which is a miracle, which exceeds the made or the manner of what something takes place. Like for example, if a person has been on a wheelchair for such a long time, and then all of a sudden, after either a retreat or a visitation or a Eucharist adoration or something like that, they actually are restored back and they are able to walk. A lot of also people have had the experience to actually, have this kind of miracles within their body. Those are called qualitatively. And of course, after being, into medications and all of this, and those medications not giving any effect, but then all of a sudden they are cured. And so I'm going to actually define a little more, where all of those effects are called properly called miracles, because they're produced by God's power alone. And as I have said before, if you guys follow our Instagram page, we know, and as the Catholic Church, we believe that there is no such thing as a saint actually performing the miracle. A saint or Mother Mary is actually an interceder. This, we know that the saints actually ask to God and talk to God on our favor so that we can receive what we are looking for. That doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to get it just because we ask the saint or because we ask Mother Mary. But we certainly will get it if it's good for us. If it's not, that's the reason why, we don't get what we ask for, because it's not what we need in a way. So a miracle is something which happens beyond the order of nature, or as I call it, God defying the natural laws discovered by the scientists, and he defies those laws. So with that being said, we're going to move on with our first miracle, and it's the miracle of Lanciano. I don't know if you guys are actually familiar with it. And like 700 BC, there was a Brazilian monk who started to doubt the presence of our Lord in the Eucharist. And there was a lot of heresy going on, of course. So he started to doubt it himself and said, is it really true that whatever I'm doing when I'm consecrating the host, is it really becoming the body and the blood of Christ? So he started to celebrate Mass as a job and not as a, I would say, with faith. He started to just, do the consecration, and, all in this doubt was actually penetrating his heart every time more and more, because of this heresy saying, there were a lot of human heresy saying a lot of things about what Catholics believe, and not just Catholics, the overall idea of God. So he started to doubt, and then all of a sudden one day when he was celebrating Mass, it was a traditional Latin Mass, which I don't know if you guys have had the opportunity to been to a Mass like that, but it's actually very beautiful. I've been myself and I love it. I actually don't have a church close to my house that does that, so when I have the chance I actually go, but it's not every Sunday. I do go to church every Sunday, but not to the traditional Latin Mass, which is very beautiful. If you guys have the opportunity to go, I would highly recommend it. But anyway, so we're this Brazilian monk, like I said, he started to doubt the real presence of our Lord. And so one morning he was celebrating Mass, and then all of a sudden he saw the host, which is like probably like this big, turn into flesh. And then the same thing happened after he said the consecration words to the cup. It started to transform into blood, and all of a sudden he noticed what was happening. So he called all the people who were celebrating Mass with him, and he said, look what the Lord has done, because I have doubted, and he knew that my heart was full of doubt. So look at what he has done, and all of you guys come and see the miracle that we have in front of our eyes. So everybody actually gathered around. Some people were crying, others were kneeling, and they were asking for forgiveness, and because they had doubt the presence of our Lord. So as you guys can see on the photos, you guys can see up close to them, there is the host itself, and as something natural that happens with the blood after an hour, the blood, if it's not preserved, or if it's not frozen in a way, because when we donate blood, it has to be kept right away into the fridge, otherwise it just goes bad, because after an hour it just becomes like a red liquid color. All the properties are gone. And then, like, for example, when we cut ourselves, after 15 minutes, within that blood touching our clothes or whatever, wherever it drops, after 15 minutes it's actually gone. Like, there is no properties to that blood anymore. It's just liquid itself again. So the curiosity of this, and not curiosity, actually, let me just say it with the right words, the miracle of this is that it's been over 1,200 years, and these relics are still very fresh. And after scientific examinations, as you guys can tell, actually within some time, the blood is not actually liquid anymore. It actually became into globules of blood. And so after the examinations, this is what they came up with. The flesh is real flesh, and the blood is real blood. And both flesh and blood are human. And also what the flesh is made up of, It's made of the myocardium, which is the muscular tissue of the heart. And you guys can see the photo right here. This is the part of that blood. I'm sorry, this is the part of the heart, and actually also the endocardium, which is the inner lining within the heart chambers, and then the vagus nerve, which is forms part of the involuntary nervous system and commands unconscious body procedures such as keeping the heart rate at a constant speed. And so also the left ventricle of the heart is which is located at the left portion of the heart below the left atrium, and it's just the thickest chamber of the heart responsible for pumping oxygen blood to the tissue all over the body. And as you guys can see it, that's the left ventricle. And then yep. And so also now moving on with the blood, it was found that actually the blood retained all the proteins which are characteristics in human bodies. And then they also found minerals, which is like, for example, chloride, phosphorus, magnesium, potassium, sodium, and calcium. And actually there is something very beautiful about it, that even though there are 5 different globules, as you guys can see, if they are weighed separately, like for example, if they grab the smallest globule, it weighs 15.85 grams. And then if they grab the largest globule of blood, it weighs exactly the same thing, 1585 grams. And then again, if you put the 5 globules, if you weight the 5 globules together, it remains the constant weight, 15.85 grams, which is very beautiful. I just think that, it's, we believe as Catholics that even on the smallest piece of host, the presence of our Lord is there. It doesn't matter how big or how small, it is always the same. So then, with that being said, it happens. It's the same thing with the blood. And so, right now it's kept on the silver osterium, which is, you guys can see it. And then in the church of San Francesco and Lanciano. So you guys, if any of you have the opportunity to actually travel to Italy, I don't have the opportunity, but if you guys do, I really recommend it. It's still there, it's very preserved, and after 1200 years, you guys can still see the same thing, the same miracle that took place in 700 BC. In 750 AD. After Christ, not before Christ, after Christ. And it's still very intact, it's very well kept. So if you guys get the chance to actually go to Italy, please do not, miss the opportunity to see this miracle. Because a lot of us would wish to go, but we don't have the opportunity. But anyways, so this is the miracle of today. We'll be having, like I said, we'll be having another Miracle Monday within 2 weeks. And then my brother will be out with his video too the following week. So thank you guys for actually having the opportunity to sit with me and see this video, and we're looking forward to see you guys next time. God bless you all.